I'm a 46-year-old father who lost a daughter, Molly, years ago to brain cancer. Molly's death broke me. She was my only child. I'm no longer who I was before this tragedy. I married my wife when my stepdaughter, Sarah, was 15. Sarah had issues with her mom. Her mom would kick her out over small arguments. She kicked her out for getting a haircut, for failing one class and other reasons. Every time she'd bring her back home and tell her to learn her lesson or she'd be kicked out. One time her mom kicked her out over a dairy at 17 and Sarah had enough and didn't return. She started working. I remained in contact. I just couldn't let her struggle. I tried to help her financially but she refused. She's incredibly independent and a hardworking person. She reminded me of Molly. I decided to help in other ways. I got her a better job opportunity by calling someone I knew at the time. This way she still had to work to earn money, which is something she wanted. And also work a better job that appreciated her more than the previous job. She's an artist, she wanted to be a graphic designer. I sold my old car to pay for her courses. She started paying me back bit by bit, only because she's independent. She lived with her then boyfriend, now husband, and paid for other things. My wife didn't try to mend things. She disowned Sarah the day she got married, but I stood firm and told her that I'm free to talk to Sarah and she should respect that. I attend gatherings with Sarah from time to time, and she calls me dad in front of other people. In the past it was just my name. This sounds crazy, but I believe this all happened just so I could meet Sarah and have a chance at being the best father that I could be. She's now 22 and just had a baby girl a few weeks ago. I visited several times and we talked. She told me that it was unfortunate that she lost her dad, but was glad she has me in her life. I cried, although I'm not good at expressing emotions, and it got worse after Molly's death. My wife knew about the baby and demanded I give her the address so she could go see her granddaughter. I refused because Sarah asked me not to tell. And because she's already dealing with postpartum and will not be able to deal with her mom's behavior. My wife threw a fit and said that this is her daughter and grandbaby, and I shouldn't try to stop her from seeing her. She called me selfish and cruel. The argument didn't stop. The family are agreeing with her and telling me to stay out of it. I argued with my wife about it again. And she said I had no right and that I needed to give her the address. She didn't even seem regretful or wanted to apologize. Everyone is blaming me, telling I'm being cruel and demanding I give her the address. Per your wife's logic, you are selfish and cruel for not violating Sarah's trust and giving her the address against her wishes, but she's somehow an angel and not selfish or cruel for kicking her minor daughter over anything and everything and disowning her. Your wife is a gargantuan idiot. And she needs to come to terms with what she did and learn her lesson before she gets to make demands and call people names. Not the idiot. It sounds like you have been the only one doing any meaningful parenting to Sarah for a long time, and it looks like she loves and respects you just as much as you do her. You are reaping what you sowed and enjoying a relationship with her and your granddaughter. Your wife, by the sounds of things, has been a terrible parent and is now reaping what she sowed. Any rights she had, she forfeited with her own behavior. Not the idiot. The only person who can make a decision on sharing her address or meeting her child is Sarah, and she's made her wishes clear. Not the idiot. Do not bend on this. The baby is a prop, just another thing your wife will try to use to control Sarah, since Sarah had the audacity, I'm sarcastic, not to come crawling back to her begging for forgiveness. If you let your wife know where Sarah lives or how to contact her, Sarah and her family will no longer be safe. They will be harassed continuously by her abuser. One question though, you seem like a nice guy, why are you still married to a woman who has no issues abusing her only child? The background details: my 42 husband, 46, and I had been married for 21 years. 3 months ago, I discovered that he had been cheating on me pretty much the whole time. He has 2 children with another woman, 13 and 6, and this woman is now pregnant again, She claims all 3 kids are my husband's, and he has not disputed that. For anonymity details, I won't say how I found out, but I was and am absolutely devastated. I've decided that I'm divorcing my husband, but I can't afford to move out until April, when I get my yearly bonus from my workplace. So for now, we are still living in the same house. I am sleeping in the guest room. I have made it very clear to him that I want nothing to do with the children and I don't want them in the house. Now, the judgment. I work from home right now because of COVID. But if there is an emergency, I can and will be called into work. Last Tuesday I was still half asleep when my work phone went off. I answered it, and it was my boss. He needed me in the office as soon as possible. I jumped up and got dressed. I do remember my door being open, which was weird because I slept with it shut, but I was in such a rush I didn't pay much attention to it. I rushed downstairs, and who do I see? My husband's kids in the living room. I immediately got upset, but I didn't have time to confront him. So I just left. I went to work and tried not to think about it. Me and my other 2 coworkers who had been called in were able to resolve the emergency. I then went home to find the kids gone and my husband and my sister-in-law, husband's sister, 39, waiting for me. They both lost it at me. My husband started screaming that the younger boy had fallen down the stairs because I left the kids alone. I had no idea what was going on. It took me a minute, but finally I worked out that my husband had woken me up early this morning to see if I'd watch the kids. Apparently I said yes, and then fell back asleep. I have no memory of this conversation. I was pissed. I told him that I'd told him I didn't want the kids around me, and that it was his own fault for asking me when I was half asleep. I said I'd seen the kids that morning, but that I'd assumed he was around somewhere, and I hadn't had time to talk to him. My sister-in-law jumped in then and said that it was my fault because I didn't check to see if there was another adult around before leaving. Some other things were said, and in the end I got back in my car and left, just to get away from them. But honestly, what they said is still circulating in my head. I'm starting to feel irresponsible, and like I should have double-checked to make sure someone was there. I don't know if the kid was hurt when he fell, because I didn't ask, but judging from how much my husband was freaking out, it's possible the kid was. So am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You never agreed to babysit. Him claiming you did when you were barely conscious hardly qualifies as consent. He shouldn't have had the kids over if he wasn't going to spend the time with them. He is the one who left the kids unattended, not you. You're not a live nanny. You may consider reporting this to Child Protective Service, or at least the children's mother. She could use it in court to get full custody. Not the idiot. You made it clear that you are not okay with the situation. You are divorcing him because of it. He had no right to even ask you to watch them. A 13-year-old is capable of keeping an eye on a 6-year-old, and in the event that they were left alone, she should have alerted an actual guardian. The idea that you are being utilized as your husband's mistress's childcare provider is obscene, and frankly you should ask him to find someplace else to live. Not the idiot. Hubby needs to get over it. A 13-year-old is big enough to mind a 6-year-old. You didn't know that they were there alone. Your soon-to-be ex shouldn't have had them there in the first place. And you never just trust someone to remember something that was said immediately after waking. Some people have no problem with this, some can have a whole conversation, go back to sleep and totally forget it. I think your husband didn't care if you were awake. My wife, 25, and I, 26, have a baby girl that just turned 2 who we'll call X. My wife loves cosmetics. She'll practice a lot and says she's even thinking about starting a makeup artist business. However, she lately has been wanting to practice makeup on X, which I was cautious about, but didn't mind, as long as it wasn't a full face, nor could she do it every day. She agreed to that. The next day I heard X whimpering in her room, so I decided to check on her, and I saw that her skin was terrible. She had a really bad rash and blistering in her face, her left eye was swollen, her skin was very irritated, and she kept scratching, making it more irritated. I quickly got us both dressed and rushed to the doctor's office, and it ended up being contact dermatitis. 1 hour after the appointment, my wife came home excited, saying she can't wait to do another makeover on X and that she bought new products for her to try. I confronted her and demanded that she tells me, what did she put on X's face? She admits to me that it was a full face of makeup while I was at work, and that they even went out to the park so others can see her talent. I called her crazy and irresponsible because now our daughter has contact dermatitis and that she broke our agreement. She got upset with me calling her irresponsible and lashed out at me, saying she was only trying to make her look pretty and that she wanted X to have a passion for makeup like she does, since she doesn't even pay attention to it. So now I'm wondering, am I the idiot for calling my wife irresponsible? Not the idiot. A 2-year-old should not be dealing with makeup like that at all. Why does a toddler have to look pretty? They're toddlers. Your wife is hurting your kid and is also imparting bad lessons onto her. This has to stop before she causes serious damage, physical and mental. She needs a wake-up call, fast. If she wants to be an artist on your kid's face, have her learn how to face paint with the correct products. Toddlers love sparkles and rainbows anyway. Not the idiot. I love makeup, most of it is toxic. Even non-toxic stuff from like Detox Market or Clean It Sephora branded is still full of sketchy stuff. It's unfortunate, but it's really just not something governments give a crap about protecting us from, and they make it difficult for us to even figure ingredients out. To force toxins onto a baby who will absorb it without their consent is really screwed up. You have to stand up for your baby. Not the idiot. I'm sure your 2-year-old looks pretty without makeup. I'm sure at some stage she'll take an interest in makeup herself. Wait until then. If she has sensitive skin, she won't be able to use just any product. Aside from that, I'm not sure it's really sending the right message to a young child. You don't need makeup to be beautiful. If you want to wear it, good. If you don't, good. There's no right or wrong, but bringing them up under the impression that if you don't wear it, you're not pretty is very worrying. This is wild, and I know it sounds like some crappy 1950s mystery movie, but I've struggled with this for years. 23. I have vague memories of a boy, and when I remember the memories, I'm overcome with a sense of love and loss. When I was younger, thinking about him would make me cry. When I was about 9, I found pictures of him and a family friend's son, Jay, for the first time, and was excited because I thought he'd been an imaginary friend, since everyone acted like they didn't know who I was talking about. My mom said that one was Jay, but the boy I remembered, she didn't know, so it must have been his friend. I was content with this, since I hung out with Jay all the time before we moved, and figured I'd met him then. Years later, when I was in high school, we moved in with my granny because she got sick. She never let me see or touch her keys, and I figured it was because, as a kid, she was afraid of me losing them. One day though, her friend picked her up, and she left her keys. There were those keychain kindergarten pictures you get from school photos, one of me, one of my little sister, and one of the boy. I was shocked, and when Granny got home, I asked her about it. She started sobbing, but wouldn't talk for the rest of the night. The next day, she told me never to ask about him again. Shortly after, she asked for help sorting through stuff. I found a box full of baby boy toys and clothes that would fit a 6 or 7-year-old. Granny yanked the box away and told me she didn't need my help anymore and locked herself in her room. When she was well enough for us to move back home, I was helping my mom sort through pictures and found a whole rubber-banded stack of photos of the boy from a few months old until 3rd grade. Mom got very quiet, but said she must have gotten them from Jay's mom by mistake. For years, I'd let it go, but recently I found more pictures that were mixed up in my baby book. They obviously got stuck and weren't meant to be there, but now I'm burning with curiosity. If I didn't have memories of him, I would say it's none of my business, but I remember this boy, and I know it can't be a cousin or a crazy young uncle since Granny had a hysterectomy after Mom. I think he either died in the fire that happened when I was 3 or 4, or he was born with a hereditary heart condition that almost killed my little sister. I don't want to bring up more pain, but I remember him, and for years I thought I imagined him. Don't I deserve an answer to my own memories? Or would I be the idiot for bringing up a potential death of my mom's child? Not the idiot. What? This is wild. If this is true, and you had a brother who died, then maybe your mom and Granny thought they were protecting you by keeping that loss from you. But as you got older, and you start asking about him, they should have come clean and told you, so you aren't confused, and they should let you grieve. I don't know. If it's true, I kinda think your mom and grandma are the idiots. If it's true, I definitely don't think you would be the idiot for asking. So your granny and your mom both have pictures of this boy, and they expect you to believe it's a childhood friend? I'm sorry, but how dumb do they think you are? It definitely sounds like it could be your sibling, but I'm struggling to think what they're gaining from keeping it a secret. It cannot be healthy for anyone to keep that inside and never speak of it. It will hurt them to talk about it, but it's ultimately hurting more at the moment. You deserve the truth, and your mom and granny deserve to grieve properly. Not the idiot. It certainly sounds like you may be correct. Aside from county records, you could check newspaper archives for an article about the fire. There are some websites for newspapers used for genealogy, and they do have more recent ones. Or you could call the paper to see how to do this, or check with the genealogy department at your local library to see how to find the article. It sounds like it is very traumatic to your family. Do keep this in mind if you decide to speak to them about it.